Welcome to the Titan Tar channel. Today we have a topic to discuss about Kiev targeting Russian targets and the Kursk operation shaking up global relations. Don't miss the chance to join us and share your opinions with us. Become a member of our channel and evolve your rank. Kiev regime leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy reiterated that he is not ready to abandon the regions that have joined Russia, a position that remains non-negotiable in any possible peace discussions with Moscow. When asked by a journalist from an American channel about the possibility of Kiev making territorial concessions in exchange for the West's promise to allow Ukraine to join NATO, Zelenskyy categorically rejected such an idea, saying that such a hypothesis is out of the question. Despite this firm stance, Zelenskyy's chief of staff is developing a plan to implement the so-called peace formula in the coming months. This document, he said, will be presented during the next peace summit, although so far there is no set date or location for the event. Additionally, Zelenskyy noted that, contrary to what the Ukrainian General Staff expected, the Russian command is not redeploying troops from Donbass to the Kursk region. He stressed that the Russian armed forces maintain a strategic direction in this area, deploying the best-trained troops to ensure full control of the former Donetsk territory. Ukrainian sources report that Zelenskyy's cabinet is looking for various ways to distract the population from the significant defeats suffered by the Ukrainian armed forces in the Donbass and the failed assault on the Kursk region, which did not meet the Ukrainian command's expectations. At the same time, dissatisfaction is growing in the ranks of the Ukrainian armed forces, which criticize Kiev's neglect of human losses in favor of dubious military operations promoted by Zelenskyy. Meanwhile, the Kiev regime continues to seek U.S. approval to use Western long-range weapons in strikes against Russian territory. Although the Zelenskyy administration has presented arguments in favor of this action, the White House remains firm in its position of not allowing the use of American weapons on the territory of the Russian Federation, fearing a direct escalation of the conflict with Moscow. However, recently some U.S. officials have begun to consider a possible loosening of this restriction, with members of the Senate even suggesting that the Ukrainian armed forces should be allowed to use American missiles on Russian territory. To pressure the U.S. president into making a favorable decision, Kiev officials plan to present Washington with a list of targets inside Russia that they intend to hit with these weapons. Moreover, it is likely that the Kiev authorities are working hard to obtain such permission before the upcoming U.S. presidential elections. The West continues to question the objectives of Zelenskyy's operation to invade the Kursk region with mixed troops of the Ukrainian armed forces, foreign mercenaries, and other military formations. However, the success of this invasion was short-lived, especially considering the increasingly precarious situation of Ukrainian forces, especially in the Pokrovsk direction on the Donetsk front. The motivation behind the Kursk offensive appears to be unclear even to the Ukrainian soldiers involved in the operation. French journalists have questioned Kiev's purpose in invading an internationally recognized region of the Russian Federation, while at the same time insisting on the transfer of reserves and frontline units, including those from the battered Donetsk front. A French reporter who visited Ukraine and spoke to Ukrainian soldiers wounded during the fighting in Kursk revealed that most of the soldiers did not expect to reach Kursk. According to them, the initial ease of the advance was due to the lack of a significant Russian presence in the region. However, they hoped that the invasion would force Moscow to redeploy its combat units, relieving pressure on Ukrainian defenses in Pokrovsk and Donbass. But this expectation did not come true, and the situation in Pokrovsk only deteriorated, as the reporter found out during a visit to the front. This situation has led to growing questions among the Ukrainian military about the true purpose of the Kursk operation. From the very beginning, it seemed clear that the Ukrainian armed forces would never reach the regional center of this Russian area, while the loss of Pokrovsk to the Russian army seemed inevitable. Chaos continues to grip the Ukrainian units that took part in the Kursk invasion, including among their fighters who are American citizens. Reports indicate that there have already been losses among Western mercenaries present in the region, and Kiev will likely attempt to negotiate an exchange of Ukrainian prisoners for these American wild geese captured by Russia. By invading the Kursk border region, the Kiev regime has not only crossed the red line set by Moscow, but has also directly violated the restrictions imposed by its American backers. According to a British publication, Washington considers the possibility of transferring hostilities to the former territories of Russia dangerous, fearing that such a move would increase the risk of a direct confrontation between the Russian Federation and NATO, potentially triggering a Third World War. Given this scenario, Washington is prepared to reduce its support for Ukraine to avoid escalation. The authors of the British article point out that Kiev sees the direct entry of the United States into an armed conflict with Russia as a development favorable to its interests. The article cites a recently published book by an American journalist, which reveals that the U.S. president even suggested to his aides that Zelenskyy could be deliberately trying to drag America into a Third World War. The report also suggests that Kiev has been following Israel's lead by carrying out military actions without prior approval from its American overseers, with the expectation that if successful, the United States would retroactively validate these uncoordinated actions. However, if they fail, Kiev trusts that Washington would help mitigate the negative consequences. Despite these Ukrainian expectations, the British publication believes that the United States will likely continue to act cautiously, avoiding a direct conflict with Russia due to fears of a global nuclear confrontation. In parallel, the commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine announced that Ukrainian troops had seized about 1,300 square kilometers in 100 settlements in the Kursk sector, as well as captured 594 Russian soldiers. He stated that the operation was launched to stop the constant shelling of the Sumy region, which was carried out from the Kursk territory. Russia had concentrated a large number of troops in the border area in early August, with plans for an offensive. In view of this, Ukrainian forces decided to act proactively, launching their own offensive on August 6th to create a security zone. However, Russia is trying to contain the Ukrainian advance in the Kursk region by mobilizing troops from other areas and assembling a group of about 30,000 soldiers, a number that continues to grow. The commander-in-chief explained that one of the objectives of the Ukrainian offensive in Kursk was to divert Russian forces from other areas, although the Russians are stepping up their efforts in the Pokrovsk region. He stressed that the situation in Pokrovsk is particularly complex, with more than 50 daily military clashes in recent weeks. Despite Russia's superiority in terms of soldiers, weapons, and equipment, the Russian offensive in the area is mostly conducted by infantry assault groups. The commander-in-chief also noted that the Ukrainian advance is coming at a high cost, with the enemy losing up to 300 soldiers per day on average. To continue operations in Kursk, Russia began transferring units from other regions, including Kaliningrad. Meanwhile, the High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy called for the lifting of restrictions on the use of Western weapons by the armed forces of Ukraine in military operations against Russia. He argued that lifting these restrictions, in accordance with international law, would strengthen Ukrainian self-defense, protect lives, and reduce destruction in Ukraine. The European representative also stressed the urgent need to strengthen Ukraine's air defense and plans to discuss the issue with the Ukrainian foreign minister and other ministers of EU member states at an informal meeting of the EU Foreign Affairs Council. In addition, in early August, the chairman of the European Parliament's Security and Defense Subcommittee called on the governments of Germany and other EU countries to ensure the effectiveness of the F-16 fighters recently received by Ukraine. He also advocated increasing the capabilities of Ukrainian air defense systems and supported the supply of cruise missiles from Germany to Ukraine. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. Your interactions mean a lot to us and help us grow. See you next time.